Hey guys, it's Kaya. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to finish what I'm doing here. I'm gonna go ahead and just talk. I'm gonna talk low. I wish I could adjust the volume, but I think y'all should be able to hear me. Yeah. So let's get started. So they're stalking me around the library. They're making it very hard to do what I need to do here. But let's go ahead. Let's get going. Basically, this is age 26. So this, I was abducted shortly after Trump was elected president. Shortly after Trump was elected president, I actually forgot to mention this in the beginning of the 26 section when I started talking about what happened and occurred to me at age 26. I remember suddenly being on the ship. It was nighttime. The brown reptile was frantic. I was in the front section of the ship, a different section. Each time I was brought onto the ship, sometimes I would be brought into the same section, sometimes different sections. But before I was brought to this section, I had tons and tons of these beings walking towards me that looked human but alien. They were all pale. They had very big bubble like eyes, kind of like my mother. They also looked very dirty. One was this guy named Michael from Nebraska who I'd met at a library in California. I was trying to date online and they sent tons of sickos towards me. This was actually a homeless man with like dirty hands and he ended up like sexual assaulting me too, touching me like my pants, like outside my pants at the library. The big black SUV with white letters was watching. I remember these people were all like they were bot like or something or came from some portal. They all walked in a big line and were all saying hi to me as they passed by. Next thing I know, I see Hillary Clinton. Uh, I was upset that Hillary Clinton lost the election and I wanted a woman in office. And at the time, though, I did not know that both sides of this political thing is actually aliens. And every one of these presidents in the USA have been reptilian and demon aliens. Hillary smiled and it was like she knew me and we spoke really quick. I don't remember the exact conversation, but next I was brought somewhere else. I couldn't believe I was meeting an actual presidential candidate. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what? Huh? But I already met Bill Clinton when I was 6 years old, who raped me, and I had his child, so I kind of wasn't too surprised. So the brown reptile explained that Trump was elected and we were all going to die soon. I was now into another part of this ship, and I think this was a part of his area. He said that I needed to eat mostly organic food. He said that soon all of the water was going to be cut off. There would be all kinds of natural disasters. And hold on, y'all. Just back a little bit. There would be all kind of, just trying to make sure you guys can still hear me. Okay, hold on. Natural disasters. I was told there would be these FEMA centers and to not go inside because they would kill me. Uh, Basically, he told me they would instantly murder you if you go into any of these centers for help when all of these disasters occur. Um, he told me they control all the water and everything that was going to happen. The brown reptilian then showed me like a big map on this wall, a map of the world. He began showing me where he was going to nuke first. He told me Australia was going to be nuked first. He then told me the UK. And then he started to show me more. Everything was blurry. Usually during these abduction, there would be a kind of blurriness. You'd feel very druggy, very dreamy. But I have a very sharp memory, which I believe is part of my psychic abilities. And I remembered everything done to me since a child. These memories started to come back to me once I stopped taking the psychotropic drugs like Seroquel and other very drugging antipsychotics and antidepressants as well. I was then told that Trump was going to unleash the Anunnaki. He said that the Anunnaki were 9 feet tall and they were going to kill everyone. The brown reptile seemed very scared. There was a force that was coming would actually kill the brown reptile that had been stealing from me, stalking me, harassing me, breeding me for most of my life. But many aliens got a hold of me through my life. The brown reptile began to tell me who I was and about myself. The brown reptile told me that I was being stalked and they were not going to stop stalking me or watching me because I had 12 species of alien DNA within me. He mentioned I was part Syrian, Anunnaki, and Pleiadian, and some other alien races. He then showed me myself in a mirror, and when I looked in the mirror, my skin looked like my face was like a bee. It looked like I was like a bumblebee. I was yellow with like insect like eyes, and I had these purplish scales with like yellow and some kind of antennas coming out of my head, and I didn't really believe this. He was now saying I was an alien. So he was now saying I was an alien. I'm like, okay. So he was saying that the end is coming and I'm already programmed. My DNA is programmed to fight for this war. And he was going to control my body during this war and have me fight. Like he was going to control my body and fight and have me fight. I basically was told, he told me I was actually Celtic, is what he told me. I told him no, I believe I'm Native American, is what I really am. And he was like, no, you're Celtic. You were Celtic in your past life. And I have actually memories of so many places on Earth, natural, beautiful places. And I'm not exactly sure, but he told me I was Celtic in a past life, then Mesopotamian as well. Then he told me I was Mesopotamian. The brown reptile did and said a lot to like trick me and twist things, so I didn't know what was the truth. What, I have no idea. Maybe I lived Celtic, maybe I lived Mesopotamian, but I don't know. In my past life, I'm not sure, but I will never know. I just remember have memories of a desert with a big mountain in the distance and an ocean. That's what I have memories of. I was kind of table and it was like an MRI machine, like something was hooked to my brain. I was now looking at some kind of screen and it was like my brain was hooked to something and it was a real reality. Suddenly I was in a different world. I was put through various stimulations. I was shown myself and others. We all walked into this Walmart. I remember being all blank, everything being all blank, like mostly all white and empty. Next thing I know, this very bright yellow light came in and we were all incinerated. It came through the whole building. I could not feel it, but I was shown what would happen if I were to go into a Walmart. I was also shown myself under a guillotine, and this guillotine came down and actually chopped my head off. But I could not feel that either. Later on, I researched about FEMA camps, and they actually have guillotines set up. Sorry, something popped up on the computer. They actually have guillotines and caskets already set up for millions of Americans. Somehow I found out everything I was shown later on. These simulations were crazy because they could switch you from one stimulation to the next stimulation so quickly. I was now brought to what I suspect was the Valley of Jehoshaphat. I was now in some desert of some kind. It was flat land. It looked like a desert in Africa or something. I saw some trees kind of around, but they were like spread far apart. I think acacia trees. I don't know though. There was a large mountain in the distance. I don't know why, but young Pharaoh was always in these stimulations with me, and this was the beginning of me being abducted, and these stimulations of survival being done. I remember I was given something. Something was put into my mouth and everything changed. I remember not having any clothes and everything speeding up. I was completely naked. Everything speeding up. We were all running across this desert now. And I remember it was like other people we were all together. I was with young Pharaoh, and I don't know what everyone else was doing, but I remember I had to run faster and it was getting hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter. I remember my family being with me too. They were running, we were all running across this desert, and then instantly they turned to dust. People started to disappear suddenly as it got hotter and hotter and hotter. It felt as though it was like 200 degrees or more, something like that. I remember it being hot for me, and I was like, wow, really hot. But I kept running, kept going. I remember these people were coming at us. We had to fight. And we had the power to fight. I remember these lizards like on the ground and snakes were coming towards us. Tons of people had military weaponry. They were military tanks, guns pointed at us. a lot was going on, and it's like we had a fight, and I was able to defeat them all. I was shape shifting somehow into an animal like a lion and other animals, and was like shredding them to pieces. I was also doing some kind of kung fu and capoeira now, and crushing them like beneath my feet. It's really interesting. So that was that experience. So the past life war with reptilians is now next section. We're going to talk about. At this point, I began to remember something. I remembered fighting like this before in a past life. I remember a war with these reptilians that looked like the brown reptile. They all had shields and swords, though no technology. I remember being able to defeat several at once. Even got on their shoulders and could kick their heads and transform into this lion and just like bite them to pieces. I remember young Pharaoh also being with me at this time as well, like always next to me and always like there. And he actually had to pull me off of this reptilian. I would not stop like tearing and biting to pieces. And we had to move on to fight the rest. We had to go, like keep going. It's like, come on, keep going, let's go. It's like I liked killing and I liked tearing them to pieces. I remember us being this near this beautiful tree in front of this mountain before we began this war, and jumping up and down, pounding our chest, saying war chants. Definitely, yeah, it was like war chants we were saying, and we were preparing, and so I was readying my tribe for war. I remember, and it was me. I was like the one kind of like we were all kind of jumping out and like, and I remember that was so interesting. It was like so then I remember young Pharaoh came up to me and he had some shoes in his hand that he had made, and they were made of some kind of straw, wood, like natural materials and handmade. And he put these shoes on me before this war began. And I remember we ran for days, like days upon days. We ran for like days. Sorry, I had to close that out. We ran for days upon days, like in the desert, fighting these reptilians, these yeah, it was like all of these reptilians that we fought and stuff. So I remember my uncle, and this actually was Infinite Waters on YouTube, that is a part of my tribe. And I remember he had married some reptilian woman. He actually had transformed. I had watched a lot of my family members were transforming into reptilians right before my eyes, my family and my tribe that I lived with. And if you've seen Pinocchio, the movie, and you remember that scene where Pinocchio, it's at the end, he's with that bad boy, they're like in that bar playing pool, and then remember how the boy turns into a donkey, like it's like first it starts with the ears, then it starts with the tail, and then this was all starting to happen to my family. People I knew were now like suddenly it was like they were transforming like that. They were now on the ground. It was like a crocodile, like an alligator. So Infinite Waters now looked like a crocodile, an alligator who's now on his like a lizard for all on all fours. And I remember like he started chasing us. We had to run. Young Pharaoh was with me, and his eyes turned bright yellow, very bright yellow, and it was scary. It's very scary. He was now a slithering snake reptile that I now had to defeat. So a lot of people that were actually in my tribe had sold their soul, or they worked with these reptilians, or bred with them or something, and then they ended up turning into them at the end. This was basically like kind of an Armageddon we were going through. So we kept going through the desert. We journeyed through. As we would go, we kept fighting. We would have to at night set up a shelter, build a shelter out of wood, and just kind of like maybe like a wiki up type of thing, fire and the basics, food, all that stuff, and we survived. Like young Pharaoh was my guide. Like he would wake me up in the middle of the night because the reptilians were hunting us, and we had to quickly move. So he would be kind of was looking out while I would sleep, and was really like interesting. It was kind of like he was able to really be I guess he was, yeah, maybe we took turns at night, like, and he would look out and then I would look out and see if the reptilians were coming. But yeah, he let us know so we had to move. So we used spears to kill them, which were Rhodesian teak, I believe, which is what Credo Mutwa speaks about, Rhodesian teak. Within my tribe, we actually had a very serious code of not looking into the eyes of anybody or any animal. The eyes were the window of the soul. Young Pharaoh made it very clear not to look into the eyes or look at them. When we hunted anything we killed, we covered the eyes, and we did not look at the eyes. I remember we ran through the rainforest and fought them. I remember fighting these things nonstop, day and night. And when you go at night and fight them through the forest, through the thick brush, you would see their eyes glowing, very yellow glowing eyes. And they would have a third eye at the top that you would always see. And you had to make sure not to look at their eyes, because if you look in their eyes, they were able to paralyze you. They have complete control over you through just looking through their eyes. So I remember once we approached this mountain and climbing up it, taking so long and being so hard. I remember my feet being able to make the distance, but getting tired and weak at times, but still being able to go. Climbing the mountain was the hardest. We still did have to fight climbing up the mountain, and things got very steep and rocky. We had to climb up, and young Pharaoh was helping me. If I got hurt, he would carry me. Something involved this war and needing to stay in the spirit. Something distracted me during the war, and I got bit by a snake by accident. I let feeling get to me because I saw a past lover and I got out of the spirit and I got bit. This is interesting because it was a stimulation and I had seen John, and I still guess maybe still had feeling kind of, and that's how I got bit by a snake through, yeah, it was like a stimulation we did, and it was always running through this like desert or this grassland or something. So when we finally made it to the top, the top of this, oh wait, sorry, hold on. Oh yeah, when I got back to when I got bit by the snake, sorry. So I got bit by the snake, and young Pharaoh had to like cut open my foot, and he had to remove the venom and carry me until I healed. I really scared of the snakes. I'd been bit before, in my past life, and I remember the tribe had to put me in a tub of like herbs to get the poison out. There were a lot of poison snakes. So when we finally made it to the top of this like mountain that we were climbing, my whole tribe was up there as well. There was a pit of lava at the bottom, and it was a huge pit. I remember being so high up and there being this pit. I remember we pushed all these reptilians into the pit. And then I remember this dragon appearing like above me, standing over me as well, and transforming into I transformed into some kind of large bird and flew away, but something went kind of wrong, I think, or it didn't, I don't know, something involving the flight of it at some point. But no, I think this one was successful with the flying, like, because something involving like what you eat and being able to fly. So, basically I was shown these memories like on a screen. Like it was crazy because I have these memories, and what they would do is they would take these memories, and then with these stimulations they would make take some of those memories and make these stimulations for, I guess, what is to come soon or something like that. Um so the brown reptile began to like tell me more like about my past life. He told me that I was mostly Anunnaki. He said that was part of why I got so angry, why like I'm like passionate, fiercely, can get fiercely angry because I'm Anunnaki. He told me Anunnaki are like warriors. That's why, because he said Anunnaki. He also said Anunnaki mostly like things neat and clean, and reptilians are very nasty. And he told me that's why my grandma and my and family was gross and hoarders. He said that's also why I hated my brother's rap music and beats, because it was reptilian. He told me my whole family was reptilian and not my family. Okay, guys, so that's part 5. I gotta quickly upload this because we're running out of time on the computer. So stay tuned with me. Love you guys all so much. I'm gonna try to get the rest of this done today. Love y'all.